Brian Sobel joins me now, political analyst, to look into this issue. Brian, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Andre.
All right, so Brian, out of the 52 seats California has in the U.S. House, only 9 are currently held by Republicans. If approved, how would this work in this particular case here?
Well, first, the lines of the congressional districts in California, Andre, would be redrawn to give Democrats an advantage in at least 5 of those districts that currently are held by Republicans. But it is important to point out that a Democrat still has to win that seat. So
Right.
It's not given to the Democrats, but it provides an advantage based on party registration and demography.
So it's not just giving Democrats a seat, it's putting it in favor, or there's a high likelihood a Democrat might win that seat.
That's exactly it. And so that's an important distinction that viewers today need to understand is a Democrat still has to win that seat.
Yeah.
And there are times in American history when seats have been redrawn and the person that they redrew it for did not win.
Mm-hmm. Prop 50, it's supposed to be temporary, Brian. How long would it be in effect if it is approved by voters?
Well, people, if they had read their ballot statements, would see that the redistricting commission's work has been, if this passes, will be lifted for 3 cycles. So 26, 28, and 30, and the redistricting commission would come back into form in 2031. A lot of people don't know that. They think this is a one-off, a one-time vote to even the scorecard, as it were, between Texas and California, but it's actually being lifted for 3 consecutive elections, Andre.
You know, it's interesting because the governor says this is being done to counteract Texas and their move in redistricting that gives them more leverage and more Republican representation in Congress. But they also have other states that are also doing this too. We have Missouri and North Carolina. So I guess the question is, if you have these other states also doing this, jumping in to counteract, does this negate California's efforts?
It may, and I think one of the counter arguments to Prop 50 is that 2 wrongs don't make a right, and what happens is that all these other states start jumping in, and it sets up a real quagmire. However, American history is replete with states doing things because we have a states' rights constitution that the states can do what they want. That's in terms of how they want to set up congressional districts, in terms of whether they have a bicameral legislature, any sorts of changes that each state want to make, they can make, Andre. And so it sets up an interesting paradigm. So this idea that it's Texas versus California is a little bit of a charade because it actually is being looked upon by states all across the nation. Right. And they may take a different decision about what they want to do with congressional districts.
That's exactly right. You know, earlier in the newscast, we had reaction from Representative Kevin Kiley, a Republican out of Roseville. He says if implemented, it would be very difficult for California to return to a system of fair representation. Do you share that concern, or does the law, as it's written right now, ensure that it is indeed going to only be temporary for those 3 election cycles?
Well, I think the concern by the no on 50 people is that once we get through these 3 cycles, that the redistricting commission will not come back into form, as I mentioned earlier, and the legislature will again draw the districts, which, by the way, in California history was the way congressional districts were assembled. For a very, very long time, the California legislature was the one that decided what congressional districts would look like. But we have a very blue state, and so the chance of Republicans really emerging here for the next few years is really a dim hope until things change in California from a Republican point of view.
Yeah, well, former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger was the one who put this redistricting commission in place here. He is, of course, against Prop 50. So moving forward here, there are already lawsuits against this. What could this mean if it's approved by voters?
We'll see. You know, it doesn't take much to bring forward a lawsuit. The an election, a fair election is a fair election. People who are going to the ballot box today should know or do know what they're voting for and have a choice. And we'll see when the polls close later this evening what California voters have decided. But this tit-for-tat kind of thing going on around the nation is troublesome from the standpoint that you're not going to know really what the congressional delegations across the country look like until Election Day +1, and then it's got to be assembled in Washington, D.C.
All right. We'll see what happens when polls close tonight and the results come in. Political analyst Brian Sobel, thank you for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, Andre. Have a great day.
You too.